Hello, my name is John Burns from Final Cut Pro Classes in New York City, and today's tutorial will be how to explain a little bit about the new libraries in Final Cut Pro version 10.1.1. So I booted up Final Cut Pro for the first time, and it made by default this Untitled library here. And I can go ahead and use this if I wanted to, and I can click it once and rename it, and I can also rename the event. But I want to go ahead and make a new library. I can't close this library. If I right-click it, it doesn't let me close it because it needs one library open all the time in Final Cut Pro. So once I make a new library, I will be able to close this Untitled one. So I have a new client coming in, so I'm going to go ahead and make a new library. I'm going to go to File, New, Library, and I'm just going to name it Client 1. And I can save that library anywhere now, so I'm going to go ahead and save it to my FCP libraries folder, which I had made myself, this folder. So I just want to be able to put all my libraries in one place so I can find all my projects by just going to that one folder. So I'm going to go ahead and save that Client 1 library. You can see it pops up right here with an event with the date on it. I'm going to go ahead now and close this Untitled library. So if I right-click it, I can say Close Library now, and it actually closes the Untitled, and now the Client 1 is the only library in Final Cut Pro. I'm going to go ahead and rename this event, and I'll just call it Media. And a couple ways I can import the media in here. I can right-click the event and say Import Media, or I can go File, Import Media, or I can just hit the Import Media icon in the empty window. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. It brings up a Finder window. And here I have my Client 1 media. I just took a few clips here so that I can import it quickly. So here I choose the main folder and I say Import. Now this window comes up here, and basically what it's asking if I want to copy the files into the library. And remember, your library, we saved it here, and that's the library it's talking about. So if I wanted to be able to drag this icon to a drive and give it to another editor, and I say copy the files into the Client 1 library, he's going to have these original files too, because it's going to copy those into that icon. But you have to remember too, it's going to take up the same amount of space as the original files, so if you don't have enough space, you're not going to be able to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and copy the files into the library so I can show you where they are. Now if I didn't have enough space to do that, I can just say leave the files into place, which means it's just going to reference those original files if you haven't made the optimized media. So here I'm going to leave in place so it doesn't copy these original files into the library. It will still copy the optimized media and the proxy media, but it's going to leave these files in place and just reference them. But I'm going to go ahead and say copy the files into the library. Now I usually make optimized media when I'm working because that's the Apple ProRes 422 codec. And a lot of stuff runs better, and especially the media we're bringing in, the H.264 media from the Canon camera. It's a little jumpy if you don't create the optimize, and it's always a good idea to do this. But it's going to take up also a decent amount of space, so you have to have enough drive space to have these transcoded into the icon. Okay. Also, if I'm working with a laptop, every now and then I might want to create the proxy media, because a lot of times high-res media doesn't work so good on a laptop, especially when you're using a multicam setup, and say you have 5 or 6 angles at high res. It's not going to play smoothly in a laptop, so that's a good time to create proxy media, which is like a low-res version of the high-res media, which usually improves the performance of playback quite a bit on a laptop and some of the older computers. So even if I'm not using a multicam and I'm just having trouble playing some red media or some Canon media or some of the higher res media out there on the laptop, and it's giving me the spinning wheel, I'm going to go ahead and create proxy media so that I can switch to that and have things work a lot smoothly. You can do that after the fact. If I didn't check this now, I could always check it later on the clip and say to transcode it and to create proxy media. But I'm going to go ahead and import these clips in, and you can see it pops everything in. You can see this wheel is spinning here, which means it's transcoding the media now. So right now it's referencing the original media, and if I switch now to the proxy media, things are still missing because it hasn't made it yet. Okay, and you can see if I click this wheel that it's in the middle of importing media and transcoding. So if I open that window up, I can see exactly what it's doing. So one by one they'll pop in here as it makes it, and I can always switch back if I'm waiting for it to the optimized media, which everything will be there. So it's actually making media inside that icon and copying the original clips into that icon. When this gets to be 100%, all the proxy and the ProRes media has been made already, and then I can switch easily to the proxy at any time. And I can cut in the proxy, and then when I'm ready to output, I can output in the high-res media. So a lot of people think they need new computers because the media is not playing smoothly, but in reality, they just need to make proxy media, and everything will run smoothly in their laptop or their older Mac computer. So here I'm just waiting for it to get to 100. I could also, if I didn't make proxy when I imported it, I could always right-click the clip and say transcode media, and it would give me a drop-down of whatever I didn't make. I've made both of them, so that's why it doesn't give me, it dims out the create proxy media check mark because it's already been made. So now I can go back and forth. If things are running a little slow, I can just switch to proxy, and it switches over, and you really don't see it, sort of seamless, but now it's using the low-res media here. Okay, so now with the Final Cut Pro bundle, which is here, if I go to the Finder, I can just move this bundle because everything's copied into it. You can see it's 3.83 gigs. I can just grab this, drag it to another drive, and it's going to copy everything onto that drive in this icon, and then somebody else can boot it up on another system, and everything will be online. Now, the other thing about the libraries is that it contains everything, which including your projects. We don't have a project in here right now, but we're going to make one, a new project, so we have a timeline to cut in. So I'm going to go File, New Project. Okay, and it's asking me what event I want to put it in. So I'm going to put it in the media event, which is my only event. And I'll just call it Test Cut. So I hit OK, and it makes an empty timeline here. And you can see a new icon pops up in the event, which is a project. So basically, my projects are now contained within this library too. If I click on the library, you'll also see it. So that's a little different than the old system where the projects had their own library. Now everything is contained in this Final Cut Pro library here. So if I make a new project and I call it Test Cut 2, you can see another project pops up with that name. If I want to open this project up, I just double click it. And it says Test Cut 2. If I want Test Cut open, I double click it, and it says Test Cut. So you can have different sequences, which are projects, in the same library. So basically, the library is going to contain everything that you've done, which is a lot easier to deal with media management-wise. If I forgot to copy things into the library and I want to now move it over and give it to another editor, I can always right-click the library and say Consolidate Library Files. And it's going to take everything that I've used in that library and consolidate the files into the library icon. So when I hit OK, it tells me there are no files to consolidate because I already made the ProRes and the proxy, and I've copied the original media into the library. So now let's say that I give it to another editor, or I want to get into another library, or somebody else wants to get into the library to maybe take a file out or to copy one of the original files out. I can open the Finder, and if I go to my library here, it's right here, and I click it once, it just shows me an icon. If I double click it, it's going to open up that library in Final Cut Pro. But I want to get into the library to access the files. So if I right-click it, I can say, or control-click it, I can say Show Package Contents. And now I'm able to see within the library icon. So I see a media folder. And here I can see my original media, which are those original clips I imported. Now they're copied into this folder of original media. When I go to my transcoded media, I can see that here it made, these are the high-res ProRes 422 media files that it copied into the library, and here are the low-res files that were copied into the library. You can see the size difference too. Here the high-quality media on that 4.7 clip is 774 megabytes, and if I go to the same clip in the proxy, it's only 100 megabytes. So quite a bit smaller. And if I go to my original media, that's 323 megabytes. So smaller than the ProRes. So the ProRes files are actually bigger than the original media files. So you always have to watch your drive space. So now with the way it's been copied in, I can just quit Final Cut Pro, and I can, if I want to give this project and library to somebody, I can just go to the library here, drag this to another drive, give it to another editor, and he can boot up the project, and everything will be online because all the media has been copied into here. If you don't copy the media into the library, basically when you double click that project on another system where it doesn't see the media, everything will be missing and turn red. Unless you've made the proxy media, you can always use that, or you've made the ProRes media, you can always use that. So I hope this clears up a little bit about the Final Cut Pro libraries, and I hope you like this tutorial. Thank you.